Okay, let's talk about how to raise your math grade from an F to a C and maybe an A fast. Okay, so quite a title. And if you're watching this video, I suspect that you're taking a math class and it's not going pretty well. So let's suppose maybe you know that you're failing, or maybe you're at a D, F, C minus level, and you want to dramatically increase your grade. Then this video is going to be for you. Okay. Now, before we get started, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is John. I'm the founder of TabletClass Math. I'm also a middle and high school math teacher. I've been teaching many years, and over those years, I've actually constructed a lot of online math courses. So I'm going to leave a link to my main website in the description of this video. And if you like my teaching style, one, I would suggest subscribing to my channel. I have a lot of math videos that can help you out. But if you really want to take a look at my best work, check out the link in the description. And I have, I think, about maybe 120 different courses at this point. So whatever math class you're taking, I could probably help you out in a very specific way. But let's get back to this title here, how to raise your math grade from an F to a C. So, and obviously maybe an A pretty quickly. So is this a, fictitious idea, right? Am I just saying this, throwing it out there, giving people false hope? In other words, is this even possible? Now, from a person, myself being a teacher, grading thousands and thousands of tests, quizzes, homework, etc., over the years, I would say yes, this is possible. It is possible for you to go from an F to a C, and that's the difference between failing and passing in most courses, and even keep accelerating progress and end uh, your math class with an A grade. I've seen it before. It's the exception, not the norm. Okay. So you have to decide. Here you are, right here, right? You're at an F or D. You're failing. You're struggling, right? So what are you going to do? Okay. Well, there's two paths you can take. You can kind of just flounder, and you'll end up with an F, and maybe your teacher will have mercy on you and give you a D, which is technically maybe passing, but it's not really good enough for credit, maybe because your school requires to have a C. So, a lot of students, majority of students are going to take this path. They're going to just kind of struggle, really not take action, feel defeated, okay, and just kind of just accept the outcome. Now, there are those students, okay, that will listen to the teacher or take clues from the teacher and be like, you know what, I've been going on this path, I better go this way, because if you've been on this path and you're just getting this result, if you want a different result, you're going to have to do something different. So the things that I see and have seen over the years that really contribute to students, and these are good students doing poorly in math. I'm going to reveal them. There's three things I want to highlight here. Now, the first thing is right off the bat, I'm just going to assume that one, let's just make some assumptions before I give you some tips here. So let's just kind of go over here. And these are things that I can't help you with, okay? So the first is that you care, right? Do you really care about school? Do you really, in other words, are you being forced into it? And a lot of you are probably like, yeah, I'm kind of being forced by my parents or being forced, but I really don't care. I'm just taking this class because I need to kind of take it, right? Or I got to just pass, right? So I can't help you with this, okay? In order for you to raise your grade, you actually got to care about your grades, okay? So that I can't help you with, right? Hopefully you do care because it's important. The second thing is your kind of how you get along or how you perceive your teacher, okay? Now, there are, I'll be the first to admit, there are good teachers and there are bad teachers, okay? And I think anybody teaching in the classroom, that's pretty rare, but I would say there's more, say, experienced teachers and inexperienced teachers. When you're teaching, and you're new at it, okay, it takes time to get better at it, all right, like anything else. So, really don't know what's going on, but a lot of you out there might be like, well, I'm blaming my teacher. My teacher's terrible, and this is happening to me because of my teacher. So, what you have to decide is you got to take the responsibility away from you failing on your teacher. In other words, it's your teacher's responsible for your grade. Okay. In other words, you're looking at your teacher and like, I'm waiting for my teacher to do something different to change my results. Okay. If you're looking for your teacher to change in order to help you, you're going to end up on this track right here. Okay. So just accept it. Your teacher has a particular teaching style or level of experience. Okay. It's up to you, though, to make the most of your situation with your teacher. Okay. Now, how do you do that? Well, you need to get in good communication. You got to act as first of all, you got to show your teacher that you care, that you want to pass. Okay. So, you're asking questions, you're seeking out extra help, all that stuff. Okay. These, and, doing the homework, doing the assignment. So if you're not even, if you don't care about passing and you're at an F, and you want to go to a C without doing the work, without putting in the effort, well, then I can't help you. Okay. And nobody's going to be helped because there's no magic trick in order to go from an F to a C. You're going to have to put in some work, meaning that you're going to have to care and you got to stop blaming your teacher if you think your teacher is terrible. Okay. So, enough of that right there. Okay. I just wanted to put that out there because, again, these are things that you have to, these are basically, your attitudes toward, learning math. Okay. Now I'm going to reveal three specific things here that can skyrocket your math grade if you really apply them. Now, take it from me. Been doing this for a long, 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 long time, and I suspect other experienced math teachers out there would, agree with me. Okay, and they may even have her offer some other kind of tips. But these are some real powerful things that if you work on, you're going to see dramatic improvement in your grade. Okay, so let's get to our first thing here, and that is notes. Okay, do you take notes? All right. First of all, let me just state this much. You must take notes to do well in math. If you do not take notes at all, then you're just completely gambling, okay, on whether you're going to pass or understand. Okay. So taking notes is an absolute must. It's critical. It's probably one of the top things that if you've been following me on my YouTube channel for a while, um, I stress this over and over and over again because there's a high correlation with students who have excellent notes. Okay, those students who have great notes, let's see here, like this, great notes. Almost always, these students end up with B's and A's. Oftentimes, more often with A's. Okay, and those students with poor or no notes, these are the students that always struggle. Okay, these are your C, D, and F type scenarios. So note taking is critical. It's absolutely critical. So you want to look at your notes and think to yourself, give yourself a grade. How am I doing? How would you even know? First of all, do you have notes? Do you know where your notes are at? Are you disorganized? Can you read notes? Okay, can you read your own notes? Could you give your notes to a friend or your parents and they could actually learn what was going on in class and do problems based upon your notes? So the first thing is start correcting or improving your notes. So if you're at an F or you're struggling, I can 99.9% tell you that it's highly likely that you're struggling with your notes. Now, there are exceptions, and it depends on what kind of math class you're taking. Maybe it's very advanced mathematics and you're taking great notes, but the subject material is just very, very advanced. But more often than not, and those students that are struggling in math, you're not taking comprehensive notes. Now, let's say your notes are neat, but they're not enough. In other words, you're not taking enough notes. You're just kind of just doing rough general summaries, etc. So the more effort you put into your notes, and it takes work. You have to sit down and rewrite your notes or make them more detailed or clean them up. The more effort you put into your notes, the more that's going to help you comprehend the material, number one. Number two, everything that your teacher writes or wants you to put into your notes are things that it's almost like a clue, okay, that they're saying, hey, this is coming up on a test. Your teacher's trying to help you out. Like, put this in your notes is more like, hey, you're going to see this again, likely on a quiz or a test or a final, okay? So that's the first tip, huge tip, maybe even the most important tip of this video. All right, let's move on to our second thing, and that is neatness. Okay. Now, take it from me, uh, as a young elementary school student, middle school, even high school. I remember decades and decades ago that I was pretty much sloppy and kind of find it where, let's say, most say boys and girls, and I'm just speaking in generalities, most boys that I've graded, young men, they just tend to be a little bit more sloppy than the girls. Okay, girls usually a little more neater. So if you're a young man and you're kind of like chicken scratch and everything just disorganized, yeah, that's kind of common. So you're going to have to really make an effort on being neater. Okay, you have to be able to understand what you're writing, and your teacher has got to be able to see what you're writing clearly. So when you're doing math, I would see something like this. Let's say, for example, let's say I'm trying to purposely make a problem, something like that, right? I would see something, I don't know, I'll be like, I don't even understand what's going on here. That looks like a 12 or a 10, and then I see something like this. I'm like, okay, I have no idea how you went from here to here, and I'm not even sure what you're writing. And this is very common, okay? Very, very common. And all the, although let's say you're at the high school level, you might have improved somewhat, or maybe at the college level, maybe you've gotten better. It's like, this is kind of like terrible. You're trying to be, trying to make somewhat of an effort. It still takes practice and consistency and some time to improve your neatness. You don't have to be super, super, completely neat, like, okay, I got to make everything just totally perfect, etc. But the more conscientious you are about being neat, okay, the better results you're going to get in math. Again, it's one of these trends that I've seen. And one of the things to help you out there is to use pencil, okay, not pen. Okay, don't use pen because pen, when you want to make a correction, you do this business because you can't erase it. Yeah, there's erasable pens, but even those are not the best. Just use a nice pencil. Okay, it doesn't even have to be a mechanical pencil, and like college ruled paper, so you can just kind of stay within the lines. Okay, try to find someone too, like hopefully your teacher's pretty neat. Um, but try to find somebody in your class or somebody that does well, that's very neat. Kind of look at their work and kind of copy or model what they're doing. Okay, the more you improve your neatness, believe me when I tell you, you're going to just improve your grades. Okay, first of all, your teacher is going to be able to well, let me back up here. First of all, you're going to be able to see what you're doing. Okay, that's the first thing. Second of all, your teacher is going to be able to see what you're doing, which means that they're going to be able to verify what you know and don't know. And if you don't know something, they're going to be able to say, hey, listen, you're having problems in this step. So that's going to be able to correct any issues, meaning that they're going to be able to resolve problems immediately because they're going to be able to identify them. Also, if you do something right, they're going to be able to give you partial credit. Okay. But if you're just sloppy and they can't understand, believe me when I tell you, a lot of teachers will just get frustrated, and they'll be like, "Well, I've told you to increase your neatness, and you're not doing it," and they kind of just figure you really don't care. Okay, you gotta remember, a teacher has a lot of students. You're not the only one. In general, let's say in high school, a teacher might have 100 plus students that they're teaching in all their classes. Okay. All right, let's move on and talk about our last thing, and that is show your work. Okay, this is really important. So even if you're neat, let's say you had something like this. All right, just kind of just making something up. Let's say you had this equation and and it's nice and neat and whatnot, but you went like this. Well, there's no evidence, okay, that you went from here down to here, okay? And I've seen this problem too. Oftentimes I've seen the problem with students who think they're really good in math, but they're like, I'm good. I don't have to really show because I can just do this in my head, like mental math, and I just can produce my answer. Because all my teacher really cares about is my final answer. Well, that's really for the absolute furthest from the truth. Okay, what your teacher cares about is do you understand the process? Okay, they're trying to teach you the process, not they don't really care about this specific problem and this specific answer. What they care about is do you understand the process, the mechanics to go from a problem like this to get a particular solution? Okay, so if you don't show your individual steps, then there's no evidence of understanding. Okay, and oftentimes a lot of teachers, including myself, would not give you credit, even if, let's say, you gave me this answer and you showed this work. I'm like, I couldn't even do this. That would be too many things in my brain to bog around, and then they might get suspicious that you're copying, from somebody else, etc. So the more work you show, okay, boom, and it's neat, then you're going to be able to clearly justify your understanding. And if you make a mistake, and if it's a tiny, small mistake, you might get very little points off. For example, let's take this problem here. Now, I'm not going to do the problem, but let's say you made one tiny little error. Let's say you added something incorrectly, just made one little sign error, and let's say this particular problem had a lot of different steps. Okay. Well, actually, let's do this problem. Why not? Let's do it real quick. Okay. So I'm going to actually just do this. It's 4x plus. If you want to pause the video and give it a whirl, I don't know what course you're taking, but if you want to follow along, that's fine. Okay, I hope I'm not making any errors. I'm doing this kind of quick. Let's see here. Purposely not doing this perfect. 16, 24. Right, that should be negative. Let's say it's positive 40 and x equals, let's see here, negative 20. Okay. All right, so let's take this problem. Okay, if I did this correctly, which I believe I did. Okay, I did it quickly. All right, so here, if I'm the teacher, okay, this problem is wrong. The answer is wrong, but the student is showing me a lot of good work. First of all, looks like, oh, they know how to do the distributor property. Okay, they multiply 4 by everything inside the parentheses, and they multiply 2 by everything inside the parentheses. So this is correct. That's a big deal that they know how to apply the distributor property. Okay, and also they're keeping the signs correct. Now they moved this 6x over to the left-hand side. They subtracted 6x. I would prefer them to have write out minus 6x and minus 6x, but I can see, okay, they got the right answer over here. They know what they're doing, but here they're supposed to subtract 24 from both sides, meaning that it should be a negative 16 plus a negative 24. This should be a negative 40 right here, but they wrote 40, but they did their final part correct. They divided both sides of the equation by negative 2. So let's say this little error right here, although that's significant, if this problem is worth, let's say, 10 points, some teachers might only dock you -1, even though you have like the wrong answer, or maybe -1 or -2. But if you don't have the work, okay, that proves to the teacher what you know and don't know, then if you go from here to a wrong answer, you're going to get -10 all the way off. You're going to get the entire thing off. So this is, one of the most dramatic things. Remember, you're going from an F to a C. You're going to have to start getting as much credit possible, even if you're not perfect in your results. In other words, you got to start showing what you do understand and kind of like have a strategy of partial credit, from your teacher. Like, listen, I don't get everything perfectly, but I do know this much. But if they can't see what you do know through your work, you're not going to be able to get any credit. So just think of the amount of work you show is increasing the amount of credit you're going to get, the amount of math points you're going to earn. Okay. All right. So believe me when I tell you, if you focus on your notes, your neatness, and showing your work, you're going to dramatically improve. Okay. Now, of course, this isn't just magic. It doesn't happen in one day, but I've seen a lot of crazy things through my years of teaching. I've seen students turn things around in a month. The last month, they just kind of like take off and they care, they just double down and they just go for it. Okay. So the last thing I would say too is if you feel that you're bad in math and you're terrible in math and you just hate math and you're just naturally bad at math, you will be bad in math and you will end up guaranteed on this path here. Okay. So your psychology, and let's say you have anxiety or fear of math, is huge as well. Okay. I can tell you right now, most people, okay, can do pretty well in math. Now I'm talking middle school and high school math. Start getting to the college stuff, the advanced, mathematics, calculus, and differential equations. Then, even smart people that are good at math are going to get challenged. Okay, because that's a pretty challenging level. But I'm talking, more at the middle and high school math. Most people, there are exceptions, okay? There's special circumstances, of course, but most people can do much, much better than they think they can do. So don't prove to yourself like I'm terrible at math, I'm just a natural failure at math. So therefore, it's okay for me just to fail because that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm just telling you, if you start thinking differently, we're like, you know what, I actually think I can pass this and maybe I can do well. You start thinking in with that mindset, you're going to dramatically improve. Okay, so that's one of the things too I kind of should have highlighted in the beginning, but at least I got it into this video if you're still with me. But if you follow these guidelines, okay, believe me when I tell you, you're going to see dramatic improvement. Okay, and anything's possible. An F2C is definitely possible. Okay, depending on how much time you have, but depending on again if you have enough time before the end of your course. And by the way too, to get to an A, if you're taking a final exam in your math class, depending on what the grade structure is for your course, final exams can be worth quite a bit of your grade, maybe 25%, sometimes like 30%. So if you like ace your final on top of already dramatic improvement on top of impressing your teacher, on top of maybe doing some other things, asking your teacher, hey, can I redo some of my homework that I didn't turn in for like partial credit, etc. Just do all of that. Yeah, anything's possible. Okay, I've seen it. I've seen it where students have really been, struggling and failing, and they end up with like an A minus. Crazy stuff. Anyways, if you're with me, I'm glad that you stuck it out and watched this because this video will definitely help you. Okay, this is all stuff that I want to pass on to students throughout the world to help raise their math classes or their math grade, rather. But anyways, if you're new to my channel, hopefully you'll consider subscribing. I've been on YouTube for a good 12 years at the time of this video. Have hundreds of videos. So if you like my teaching style, check out my channel and please consider subscribing. I'm posting all the time. If you like the video, definitely appreciate a thumbs up and leave me some feedback. Is this do you struggle with math every year? Are you just, is it a particular class? What's your situation? Maybe you do have a bad teacher. Maybe your teacher doesn't care. Maybe it's because you're doing remote learning. That's another big factor, what's going on today too. Maybe it's like, hey, I did better when I was in the classroom versus, learning online. But believe what I'm telling you here too, it applies whether you're doing remote learning or in classroom learning. These everything is the same. Okay, in other words, my guidance is still applicable. Okay, in both situations. But there are students out there who do much better. Like let's say learning in the classroom. Anybody probably would, but again. We're living in new times, and a lot of you out there have no choice but to be learning remote. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just remind you again, if you want to check out all my courses, I'm going to leave a link to my main TC Math Academy, TabletClass Math Academy below. And hopefully you can find one of your courses that you're taking there in my library, and check out my full complete courses that can certainly you know, help you with what class you might be taking for sure. But with that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your mathematics adventures, um, and have a great day.